So yeah, this was a long time coming. I felt it needed to be said and done because there's so many people asking for PlayStation Home comeback. So, Sapphy here. I'm just giving you guys an update. I've had quite a few comments on my different videos for Nebula, and a lot of them are related to home stuff. And I'm probably gonna get a bit of fair amount of hate for this, but it's like I need to explain to you guys. They don't have any intentions of bringing back home. I'm sorry. They don't have any intentions of bringing it back. It closed for probably good reasons. You may not agree with this, but this is how it goes. Home towards the halfway lifespan, it was already starting to show signs of, trouble. Then it got worse. The hackers and whatnot, the modders, I wouldn't even call them hackers. The modders would run around and lag out our servers, freezing out people, causing them to get booted, whatnot. And it got really bad for home. We had people, mafia families, if you want to call them that, e-thugs, some of them. A lot of them were really nice people, but the majority of them, we're not going to name names, but yeah, it's quite a few unsavory groups that would run around and harass people, and if they saw someone they didn't agree with, even if everyone else was fine, they would freeze the server. Even if it meant freezing themselves out too, it would freeze the whole server and cause everyone to get booted. Not to mention, there was a problem with, that and other stuff, and it was just toxic. There was a lot of people running around. Most people, I admit, were just generally just going about their stuff. But because of all the fights and the constant false reports, and it was just stressing and taxing on the groups. Not to mention, even if we wanted to bring back home, as much as I'd love to see that happen, at this point in time, I don't see that happening at all, because for the simple reason, look what happened with all the companies that ran on home. Dreams, Lockwood, all the minor companies that no longer have a thing on home. Because, home's gone, but when they were on home, they were working in conjunction with Sony. They're working alongside them, helping them design things and develop stuff for home. They're not around anymore. They're off doing their own stuff. I'm sorry to say, but that's not happening. If you want home back, you have to convince those companies to come back too. But even then, Sony has to back it. They're not going to bring it back because of what happened with the PS3 version. They're not going to do that. So, as much as I'd like to see people commenting and putting videos out and petitions to bring it back, I wish you all the best in your endeavor, but I don't see that happening. Honestly, I don't see home coming back. Like I said, there's already too many groups that have gone missing off of home from when home was around. Lockwood, Dreams, a bunch of others. I can't name all of them because there's a bunch of them. But a lot of them are doing their own things or no longer exist, and Sony doesn't back it. They refuse to back another home, for whatever reason. And people saying, Sony owes us, they can't just take away our stuff, they owe us money. No, they don't. I'm sorry to say, but that's not how that works. When you sign in and you start up home, there's a user agreement stating you don't own anything in the game. It is licensed to you to use while it is there. And if at any time Sony decides to cut it, they can. They don't have to compensate you for anything. You put money into it, it's like any other game. Once the server goes down for a particular game, if the game closes, they're not legally obligated to compensate you for anything. Any time, money, resources you put into that game, that's on you. I'd love to see that happen, but it would be too much money and Sony wouldn't be able to pay you all out. Plus, like I said, home is gone. There's a petition I saw that someone linked to me in my last video for the Valentine's content. I commend you for trying, but if you've only accrued, 754 votes out of 1,000, And it's been 3 years since that update. 3 years ago, it finally gave us 754 out of 1,000. You're not making any progress if it took 3 years just to get to that point. Not to mention with petitions, in order for it to be, for them to take you serious, it has to be at least 100,000 or 20,000 or more. You're only getting 1,000 and you're not even there yet, and it's been 3 years. That's not going to work. They're not going to take you serious if you've taken 3 years to get that many votes. Which means there's not enough support for it. I know quite a few people. I remember Home. I loved Home. Home was my thing. I met my first girlfriend on there. Me and her are still dating years later. You know, and it hit a lot of people hard. A lot of people that were socially awkward, have anxiety about going out. This was their thing. That was their place to go. That was their fun time. That was where you could go and be whatever you wanted to, dress however you wanted to, and meet up with people. And for a lot of people, it helped them with their social anxiety. I had so many encouraging comments from people that remember Home. People that loved the fact that because they were had social anxiety and going out, they could go out on Home and not have to worry about actually interacting physically with people. They were virtually interacting with people. So, you know, it was fun. It was a good place for people to go. And yeah, there was a bit of, you know, obvious fighting and whatnot. But people loved Home. And I'd love to see that happen, for it to come back. But that's not happening. You can do all the petitions you want. You can do all of the stuff you want to bring them back. But it's not going to happen. You know, the most you can hope for at this point is to support either Nebula or one of the other platforms that has sprung up in Home's absence. In my opinion, Nebula looks a lot better. That's just me, but I've enjoyed, you know, even with the lagginess, they're a small company. They're a small group of people. I sincerely say, give the benefit of the doubt. You know, let them run their course. You know, it took Home how long to get to a stable point, and even then it was still kind of buggy. You're going to sit there and tell me that it wasn't? There was times where Home generally didn't work for the most part. Some of the stuff glitched, broke, or was just unplayable. And that was done by a larger team and backed by Sony. So, you know, I mean, think about it. This is what we have now. I suggest we get behind one of the groups, either Nebula, or you know, Atom Universe. Cartoonish as it is, Atom does have its, you know, things that you can do. They have quite a few things, but Nebula is as close to what Home looked like, and they have some of the original spaces, including the Harbor Studio, slightly modified, but they brought it back. They do have plans on bringing some of the older stuff back from what we had on Home, like some of the spaces and the customization. That's some of their goals for this year. You know, so if you take this as a rant or, you know, rave against the people that want Home, I'm with you. I feel you. I wanted Home. I was so excited when they mentioned Nebula. Yeah, it's a little bit of a disappointment but think about it. There are only 6 people or so running this group. They don't have the backing of a major corporation like Sony. They don't have all these different corporations working with them to design clothing and other various objects. But it's like, we have to stand behind one of them. I choose to stand behind Nebula. I hope you do too. Because Nebula has potential. Even if you don't agree with everything else, you have to agree, Nebula does have potential to be a really good place to be. When it is working, this place is phenomenal. It has a lot of potential to be something close to what we had at Home. Maybe not, it will never truly replace what we had. I agree. But this is as close as we're going to get. Now, you either support Nebula or Atom Universe, but I choose Nebula, so, you know, take your pick and back them as best you can. But like I said, you know, to each their own. But Until next time, I guess, I'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao.